What's going on, y'all? Sean here. I'm on a couple minutes late, so I apologize for that, but hopefully you guys are doing well. Hopefully you out there taking care of yourselves, even in the midst of what often is a hustle and bustle, during Christmas season and all that stuff. Hopefully you're not getting yourself worn out and all that. I think that we are good here on my end as far as all those kind of preparations are concerned, at least for the most part. But anyhow, in this live, well, first of all, if you have any health and fitness questions, exercise, fitness, eating right, et cetera, stuff that has to do with taking care of yourself, getting in your best health, avoiding preventable disease. If you have any questions, put them in the chat. By the way, for my 60 and over, I posted a video yesterday, and I'm going to go ahead and just link to it here. I posted a video yesterday for my 60 and over people to kind of give you some tips on how you can, enter into strength training, basically. And let me go ahead and post that here so I don't forget. There that is. So if you're not strength training and you're 60 and over, really everybody should be strength training. And my 60 and over, you have a very, very urgent kind of need to strength train because of the fact that when we don't use our muscles, we lose them. And especially that is magnified, especially with age. So you need to be getting some sort of strength training in. And I had these moves that I put in this video I posted in the chat specifically for you if you're 60 and over, okay? Now, what I wanted to talk about in here is also kind of related to, a much older crowd. There's a man by the name of Richard Arvin Overton. I came across him a few years back. I think when he's passed away now, but at the time of his death, I believe he was the oldest man living in the United States. And Mr. Overton, so he died at the age of 112, 112, okay? Mr. Overton, the reason why, obviously, living that long is impressive. And the dude was, let me not say the dude, because it feels wrong to me to kind of refer to a man of that age as dude. This is a elderly gentleman. Dude's a gentleman too, but you understand what I'm saying. But this man was still driving and doing various things to take care of himself into his hundreds. Okay. He was, but the main reason that I wanted to talk about Mr. Overton is because in the video that I watched where he was being interviewed, he talked about having daily ice cream. Daily, I think, chocolate ice cream. Daily ice cream. So that kind of stuff makes me really think, okay. So ice cream, now I like ice cream a lot. I do. On the weekends, I typically will eat some ice cream. But how in the world, this is the thought I had, how in the world do you live into your hundreds and you're eating ice cream every single day, every day? Like, how do you do that? Like I said, I like ice cream and I eat it occasionally, but like to hear that this guy was still into his hundreds, doing well, still somewhat independent, and eating ice cream like daily. And so look at in the Wikipedia, it says Mr. Overton had been known to smoke about a dozen cigars a day. About a dozen cigars a day. So that's the kind of stuff that just makes you kind of think about, okay, when it comes to taking care of yourself, how is it that some people will go and live exceptionally long, but then there's, smoking cigars every day, eating ice cream every day. And I'm going to try to remember to link to the video so you can watch it yourself. And I'm just going to go ahead and pull it up here so I don't forget, so that once I close this live out, Richard Overton. So when I close this live out, you can go watch the video yourself. But this is the kind of stuff that makes you think. What is the effect on healthy living, like on your body, on longevity and whatnot? And what is it? So, like, because we know that sugary stuff, we know that cigars and whatnot, these are not healthy kinds of things. They're not. Matter of fact, I'm sorry, I'm kind of getting distracted here because I see that this link to this Richard Overton story, it says he wakes up sometime between 3 and 5 a.m. and immediately lights up his first cigar. He smokes about 15 cigars a day. He relies on 4 nurses and 2 family members to help him get through the day. Most of his days are spent greeting visitors on his front porch. He says his secret to living a long life is just keep living, don't die. I love that. But what is it? What is it? What is the key to like living a long life? And so I think it's worth kind of like really considering this and whatnot. But I just say these are the things that it makes me think. One, obviously, still, regardless of whether Mr. Overton's eating ice cream every day and smoking 15 cigars a day, like we know that those things are generally not good for your health. Now, I don't know if he was doing 15 cigars a day for like all of his life. However, I do believe that there are more things there are more important things probably at play too. So like, for one, I believe one thing I think about is I always kind of wonder what were the foundational years like for people like Mr. Overton. What did he grow up eating? What did he grow up doing? Now, he was born, I think it said in 1906. Yeah, so that's right, 1906. So when he was growing up and he was a baby and all this kind of stuff, him and people like him in that generation didn't have all this junk in the food supply that their parents are, feeding them from, not even occasionally. And I don't know, I'm sure that maybe there were some things, but they didn't have all these convenience foods like we have. These highly sugared, highly salted, highly processed foods that we have. And I say that because the foundational years, like whenever you're a kid, those are really, really crucial for our health. And so that's one of the advantages that our grandparents and great grandparents and them had, that they didn't have all this junk out like we had, everything that kind of came out after, especially the Second World War, all this processed stuff. That's one thing I think about, and it's having a longer time where he was probably eating more fresh vegetables than most. Now, I don't know what all he ate, to live 112 years, but I still have a feeling that people like him probably had a lot more vegetables and like quality food in the sense of less adulterated foods than what we have or what we tend to eat these days. But then the other thing that it makes me think is that I believe that there are other things in life that matter for living a long quality life, even in like eating and exercising. And I say this kind of frequently. So, for example, let me see what other stuff this Wikipedia article talks about. So Mr. Overton, he was a World War II veteran. He enlisted in the Army in 1940. He served in the South Pacific from 1940 through 1945. And so the reason why I even mentioned that is So he was in World War II. Now we know how horrific of a war that was. War, even in general, is horrific. But like World War II was like a real world war. And so he saw some stuff for sure, I would think. But the point that I'm making is like a lot of times people who have meaning in their lives, very significant meaning, like different things they've done over their life, or even people who who work for a long time, who have meaning in their lives, like there are studies that show that they tend to have longer lives, perhaps connected to the fact that they have meaning, they have something to live for. So that really seems to be something that makes a difference. Another thing is, like I read in that video description, most of Mr. Overton's days in his older years are spent greeting visitors on his front porch. So people coming to greet him on his front porch. You know, social interaction seems to be very important. I even think about both of my grandparents. My granddad lived until he was 90. My grandma lived until she was 95. And one thing that I recall all the time going to their house is they stayed like having people were constantly coming into their house, come in and sit and talk. Like older people in the neighborhood come in and sit and talk, and then my grandma and my granddad would go sit on their front porch and talk with people and stuff like that. You know, these are the kind of things that they did, you know, and I don't that it's not like that these days. I kind of wish it was. It's not really like that these days, you know. And but I'm saying all that to say it seems like social interaction, life meaning, like these things really matter. They really matter. And so as far as whether or not these would nullify the effects of daily ice cream and multiple cigars a day, I'm not saying no stuff like that. I'm not. You know, I wouldn't suggest that at all. You know, and it's a blessing that he, you know, enjoyed such a long life. You know, with doing that kind of stuff, and I'm sure that brought him joy as well, eating daily ice cream and smoking all of his cigars, starting at 3 to 5 in the morning. But at the same time, again, I think it also means that it suggests rather that you and I should really consider as we take good care of our bodies, as we build muscle, as we you know, eat well, eat a lot of vegetables and stuff like that. As we do these things, we also need to look at other things in our lives. And of course, I also believe that it's not really important for us necessarily to seek to live long just for the sake of living long, but like just kind of understanding like the characteristics of people like Mr. Overton who live long lives or whatever, like having real meaning in our lives, having a reason for being here, you know, and having strong social interactions and stuff like that. Now, you know, especially with the social interaction part, we live in an unprecedented time period where our social interactions are way different. And in some cases, I think they're kind of messed up because there's such an emphasis on social media human interaction, which is not, it's like a shell of real human interaction. So I think that we need to fight for some real human interaction in our lives. You know, it matters. You know, that there's that saying, no man is an island. And I mean, it's true. Like we're not really designed, even if we feel like we like to be alone, which I'd actually like to be alone a lot. I'm kind of like more of an introverted type. But even still, we need each other. We need each other. That's even the reason why there's been so much human progress, because it's not because one person had ideas. It's because people had to come together at some point, and like our lives are richer when we have people close to us and whatnot. You know, even when we have animals, it is shown to kind of help to improve your quality and sometimes length of life. So it's something to think about. But anyhow, that's all I got for today. Y'all look up Mr. Overton. I have like some links to stuff in the description for y'all to check out. But yeah, man, longevity, you know, even with ice cream and cigars, something to think about, right?